For guests and visitors, my name is Steve Perley, club president for the last time. And I'd like to welcome you all to what I believe is the third meeting for 28 years with other elements at Rotary. Thank you. Today's invocation and pledge of allegiance will be offered by Mr. Jerry Katz.
No, that's not the one.
Oh, wrong one.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
If you'll bow your heads, please, as we pray to a higher power, we recognize and say thank you for the blessings that you've laid on us. We pray today for those around the world that are ill, suffering, and the victims of war. Give them comfort and strength. Be with the caregivers and bless them with wisdom and patience. Be with the members of our club to give us the desire and energy to help others and improve our communities and the lives of the people who live there. We pray too for the people that live in the areas where our club is doing projects. Keep them safe, keep them healthy. For these prayers and the prayers on the hearts and minds of us collectively, we all very humbly say, Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And justice for all.
Eric, can I have my script back?
What?
Can I have my script?
No.
I'm lost out here. Thank you. President-elect Teresa, would you please introduce any visiting Rotarians or guests?
Hello, everybody. My name is Teresa Russell, and we have several guests today. Ken, I believe you're a speaker. And we'll introduce you in a few minutes. Corey Payne. Are you a Columbus Rotarian or just? Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Ready? We have Ashish, I'll introduce you in a minute. Steve Miller. Are you a Pathways Rotarian? Okay, here we go, everybody. And then Alan, you have a guest.
I do. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to introduce my dear friend, Ralphie Whitehouse, who's made the mistake of stopping by my office and I was on the way out. So here she is.
All right. And we have a special guest, Ashish from India, and he's going to stand up and mention a couple of words. He's also a fellow Rotarian and a president-elect right along with me. Give him a one clap welcome. Ashish, you want to say a couple of things?
Take a video.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is Ashish Moghe from Roti Cup Thane, Suburban, India. Well, nice meeting you all here, and I can see a lot of glorifying and happy faces, just like me. So the weather is good, and I came to US last week on my business visit. I'm working for a company called Scully. We are into oil and gas based in Boston. My son, he's working for a company called Logistics Fanatics. He's based in Columbus. So that's why I'm in Columbus. And I thank Steve for inviting me in this club as a guest. And I'm feeling happy that I'm part of Rotary International and I'm a part of Rotary India. Well, Rotary India, we started in 1920 with one club. And today we have around 4,500 clubs all across pan-India with a membership of around 200,000 members. And we are growing. So it's a vibrant community and we do a lot of projects, community projects, international projects, RILA, and it feels good to be a part of Rotary and giving something for the society. I think we are all on the same page, on the same wavelength, and let's rock Rotary together. And by the way, I'm the president-elect for next year. So we have an excellent year. And Teresa is my co-president. So it's been nice. And let's create hope in the world. Thank you very much.
I'd like to exceed that.
Our club?
I'm embarrassed to say we don't have any flags.
No problem.
But thank
Just
you.
exchange it.
Yes, thank you.
Hold on, I'll get a picture of that.
It's coming here or will stand here?
I don't know if I got a picture or, oh, here we go. Okay. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
We'll do a redo.
announcements. Who has announcements? If you have announcements, come on up. I'll start. What do you guys think my first announcement is gonna be? Can you guess?
Who is this guy?
Installation.
No. 125 Club. You still have time to be a member of the 125 Club. $100 to the annual fund, $25 to Polio Plus. I believe we're at 27 members. Pretty good, but we can do better. So if you haven't, please do so. All right, Mr. Grossman.
Thank you, Steve. I am here representing our foundation. I'd like to share with you a letter that we got from a recipient of our grant who needed money tomorrow. We got this request on just a day or two before Memorial Weekend, and she says, "Dear Dublin and Worthington Rotary Club, I just wanted to take a moment and personally thank each and every one of you for your consideration, generosity, and assistance. I've experienced a lot of hardship in life, and I've worked hard to get to the place in life I am at. I'm so thankful that I can give my kids a safe environment and excellent schools. I have had a lot of things seem to go wrong lately, and I've just tried to keep pushing, praying, and trying to remain positive. We are very thankful. My kids are aware of the situation. My 13-year-old was so positive. He said, 'It's okay, mommy, we can always get it back.' From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. It may not seem like a lot for others, but it means so much to me. This will be the help I need to get my finances back in order. Thank you again, Nicole Hornbeck." This case came to us. It was a rent situation, and I apologize for not remembering the details. Jerry, you're welcome to help me if you do. But my point is that we were there and we can do something that most, if not any other foundations don't do, and that is get a request today and act on it tomorrow. So I would ask, as long as I'm standing here, if you have any room in your hearts or in your wallets, please help our foundation as our funds have run low based on all sorts of different circumstances, not the least of which is $17,000 in grants so far this year. Our normal year is 12. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Excellent. Installation banquet. It's coming up. Today is the last day to RSVP for that. It's $30 a person. You can RSVP by 4 p.m. Christy needs to send the final head count to the caterer by 5. That would be fantastic. Right now, I think we have, minus duplicates, maybe somewhere in the range of like 60 to 70 people attending. So it's going to be a great event. Picnic. 4th of July picnic. Who wants to put together an announcement about that? Anybody?
It's happening.
It's happening.
Your sign up there.
Yeah, volunteer sign up went out. I think it's already about half full at last look, but we do need to fill up every single slot. So I'm sure another message will go out and more details will come.
Tell us again, please, where it is this year.
It is at Thomas Worthington High School in the back lot.
It's a baseball field.
Okay,
So the food trucks will all be back in the back. You won't see it from 161 again this year, but it'll all be in the back of the school building.
Okay.
There'll be no foot traffic in front of the high school.
it's all kind of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tore up.
I think they quite an endeavor.
Yeah.
Building it all. So, and it's 5 to 9 this year.
5 to 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other announcements?
Can I make one more announcement? about
Please.
this? So in the past, we have our kind of our traditional business sponsors that have kicked in $500 and up each, but we've always thrown it open to individual Rotarians who over the years have always donated, you know, like $100. So if you're interested in doing that, please send me an email. Maybe we can get an email blast out before I can send it to Steve. I don't know what you prefer.
Or they can send it to me to put on their July bill.
Yeah, they're better, but then we should know, so we usually have a list of.
Yeah. Yeah, so they should email me by the end of this week, really, so that we can have a good list, and then it can go on the July invoice.
Got it. Okay, I think we're ready for our sergeant, Mr. Ken Carey. Got a room full of money, let's get it.
Who would like to volunteer to carry the pot?
Well, the treasurer always will carry it.
We already have one standing.
Good.
When you announced that this was your last meeting as president, that entire back table applauded.
Good riddance, right?
I don't know if it was a applause for thank you or applause as in, get the hell out of here. You guys all owe $1. That's $1 from that table.
It's been 2 years, so I can close a little.
Well done.
Good recovery.
Todd Weithman, you recently got exceptionally lucky, won both the raffle and the golf outing. $1 for each, please. Happy dollars. Who's got happy bucks? Yes, sir.
I'm gonna put in a happy dollar for myself, for Charlie Vesty, and for Christie, because the 3 of us represented this club in the district in the Pride Parade.
Just what?
Ellen,
Well, in the tradition of a dime a year, I put in a total of $10 to round up. As I just celebrated the beginning of the end of my 85th trip around the sun. So, I'll begin the next trip.
congratulations. Anybody else? Happy bucks. Yes, sir.
But that goes to the foundation, giving that money.
Well, I am Steve Lord, Steve Hathaway's Rotary, and you guys were kind enough to invite me here a few months ago to speak to you and my fellow club member Kim. And he made that to listen to me, so I'm here today to listen to him and just get to visit with you guys. And Steve, thank you so much for joining us in one of our online meetings after this year.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. Any others? Any other happy bucks?
I don't think so. Think there's something, the gift of laughter is one of the greatest happy things you can do. Agreed. And I just recently went to the National Center for Comedy. And it was wonderful. I recommend it. It's in Jamestown, Upper New York. And it's a great time. You won't be disappointed.
So I just got back from Alaska on a fabulous vacation, and we got 3 national parks, and we cruised, saw glaciers, saw animals, and had a great time, and I feel so refreshed. I've needed this vacation for a while, so just wanted to say thanks and give a happy dollar.
Sound like it.
Speaking of travel, I'm about to spend a day and a night in Amsterdam. I still haven't heard from you and Jennifer the directions as to where I'm supposed to go in Amsterdam while I'm there.
I'll tell you.
Can you help me out a little bit? I heard a rumor that Jennifer's husband was really popular among the gals looking out the window there. As they were walking by, I'm sure. Anybody else? Any other happy bucks? Couple questions for the entire crowd. Get this right, no fine. Everybody here watch a little bit of the US Open last weekend. At Los Angeles Country Club. 320 acres of land located right next to Beverly Hills, California. The land is estimated to be worth $8 billion if they were to sell it, but they won't because there's a lot of tax advantages to being a country club apparently. There is only one parcel of undeveloped land in the United States worth more. What is it?
Backyard, Central Park.
I gotta get some tougher questions. Yeah, that is the correct. Only Central Park is worth more than the land at LA Country Club. Significance of today, it is first day of summer.
Day of the year.
Summer solstice. How many hours of sunlight do we have today?
Oh,
The internet never lies.
yeah, right.
We have 16.1 hours of sunlight today. Everybody throw in $1. Last question. What is the historical significance of today's date in the year 1788? Yes, sir.
The Constitution went into effect because the required number of states for it to go into effect and ratified.
You gotta do better.
Smart crowd.
You never ask a civics when he's here.
I thought these 2 questions were difficult enough. I got nothing better. Everybody throwing $1 just so we get some hand on it.
Good stuff. Fortunately, I think our social fund's in good standing, so we'll be able to get through this. All right, now it's time for our speaker, and by way of introduction, I will do so. Ken Robinson started with the American Red Cross in Buffalo, New York as a volunteer in 1989. He continued his involvement while attending Ohio Wesleyan University in Delaware, where he majored in religion and history. After graduation in 1995, Ken was hired by the Toledo chapter as a volunteer specialist and progressed through other positions, including branch director, director of programs and services, and chief operating officer, while still managing all service delivery functions in all business lines of the former Northwest Ohio region. He has been leading disaster services at various organizational levels for more than 25 years. Ken is one of the longest serving Red Cross disaster services leaders in the country. Certified disaster program manager, he has supported dozens of disaster operations in the field and from the national headquarters, where he had also led national projects around service delivery organization and management, dividing his time for 3 years between Ohio and Washington, D.C. Recent disaster deployments have included leading the Red Cross responses to deadly flooding in Kentucky and Tennessee in 2021, and serving as the principal Red Cross representative to the Commonwealth of Kentucky during its deadly tornado outbreak in December of 2021. He also supported government executive relationships at Hurricane Ian in Florida. Ken now serves as regional disaster office for the Central and Southern Ohio region and leads a team of 16 paid staff and approximately 850 volunteers providing services in 47 counties in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, ranging from emergency response, client recovery, and preparedness programming, including safety education and smoke alarm installations to make families safer and more resilient. In short, his team works to save lives, and if disaster does strike, to help rebuild them. Ken is also frequently called to serve in interim roles across the organization, including Division Volunteer Services Executive in 2022 and Regional Disaster Officer for the Texas Gulf Coast region since February 2023, reorganizing the region based in Houston. A Rotarian since 1997, Ken has served as club president and in several club board positions over 14 years in 3 clubs, as secretary treasurer of the Perrysburg Rotary Foundation for 8 years, District 6600 trainer and lead trainer for All Ohio Pets Seminar for 7 years, and district governor chief of staff. I didn't even know that was a thing. Currently serves as district Rotaract and Interact chair and is a member of the Pathway Rotary's E-Club in District 6600 with members in several states and countries. Ken lives in Perrysburg, a suburb of Toledo, with his wife Tara, a family physician in Ohio Wesleyan alumna. They have 2 adult sons, Will, a recent graduate of University of Toledo College of Law, and Jack, a recent graduate of Bowling Green State University, with a degree in integrated social studies, education, and history. Please join me in welcoming Ken.
I don't enjoy the adult son part as much of that introduction as I thought I would. I'm just looking for a great social studies teacher. I got one for you. Thanks for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. We got a lot of slides. We'll get through most of them, I think. Want to first introduce Corey Paul. Corey's our executive director for the Greater Columbus chapter, one of my colleagues on the regional leadership team. So Corey, thanks for keeping me honest. And Steve will also keep me honest because it will cost me when I don't. So I appreciate the invite and for you guys serving as my Wednesday club when I'm here in town. So that's you. That's not news. We're going to see if we can advance this here.
Yeah, 1 second. We need a better tech guy.
We're good. Perfect. All right. That's what we do. That's the short answer of what we do. Used to be a lot longer. When I started here way in the late 80s, it would be most of a page. We made it really simple. We prevent and alleviate human suffering where we find it. And what the emergency is, doesn't really matter. If you need blood, that's an emergency. If you're choking on your hot dog at the baseball stadium, that's an emergency. If your house burned down, that's an emergency. If you're separated from a loved one while you're serving overseas in our armed forces, and there's a need to get you back, that's an emergency. We work to do that every day. So what does that look like? 170 times a day, we help someone who's had a disaster. 12,000 times a day, we collect blood donations, help a patient in need. Weather alerts go out through our emergency app. We'll talk about that. If you don't have it, go to the iTunes store, go to the Google Play Store, download that. You can get emergency information wherever you are. And those adult kids I talked about, to make sure, get in the damn basement jack. It's a thing, get in the basement jack, because he will be doing something. And so, yes, we don't stalk them with it, but we do sort of help reinforce we're not kidding around. You see the services we provide to military members. We have a neat program that's really engaged by one of our volunteers here in Columbus, and Kathy Flynn, our measles and initiative, where Kathy, in fact, she was just profiled, I think, on the national organization's social media, goes to Africa and they help make sure that they vaccinate kids, very similar, totally based on the Rotary Polio Plus program, vaccinate kids around the world against the measles. It's great when a group like the Red Cross can steal something from us in Rotary, like that Polio Plus program. So some of the things that we get asked about pretty regularly, where's the money go? 90% of it goes to service delivery. How many employees do you have? Not that many. 90% of the workforce is volunteers. So on my team in central southern Ohio, we have 16 employees in my department and 850 volunteers. And those ratios are not too far off of most of the places we go. So I got news for you. The climate's changing. I don't know why. I studiously avoided science classes in college. I married up. She did science. I did not do science. I majored in having a good time, and she got Phi Beta Kappa, doing a lot of science things. Regardless of the reason, the climate's changing. And you can see we're having back-to-back years of many, many, many storms. This slide is incredibly important. These are billion-dollar disasters. In the 1980s, you would have on average $3 billion disasters every year. In the 2000s, that more than doubled to 6.7. Now we have north of $20 billion disasters every year. And the frequency and the intensity of those disaster responses is increasing at an exponential rate. And that means the demand for folks to roll up their sleeves, take training, deploy across the country is exponentially increasing as well. In fact, if you look at it in terms of where we anticipate what's the organizational cost of a response, if you look at responses that we expect will cost the American Red Cross more than $250,000. We call that in the inside baseball category a level 3 response. If you look at that, we initiate a major disaster relief operation in the United States every 10 days, which you don't hear about because they happen. That flood that's displacing a whole bunch of people isn't going to make the news. The tornadoes make the news, but the media hit is up and it's down. Every 10 days, we initiate a major disaster response, and each one of those major disaster responses requires that all of us in the Red Cross work to send people from here to there. And volunteers do that work of reaching out to all 850 of our volunteers to find out who can raise their hand and go there, like Guam, like fill in the blank, any wildfire on any given week, including in places you don't think much about, like Michigan, where I'm currently also serving as the interim regional disaster officer. Because I missed a meeting and this is what happened. Same thing happened with Texas. They said, well, you don't have to worry about Texas. We're sending you to Michigan. Oh, bless it. So wildfires happen in places you don't even think about, right? Tornadoes, you expect that, right? But you know, the tornadoes coming, they don't come with the notice that they used to. So up in northern Ohio, they had 8 tornadoes on Thursday. There was no prediction for that. That was not in the cards. 8 different tornadoes, bang, 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 bang. One of them went about 10 minutes from my house. So the landscape of the work that we do is dramatically changing. So a little trigger happy here. So here's where we're making some predictions here. Humanitarian assistance needs caused by the climate crisis. Again, I'm not going to get into the cause of it because I'm not that smart, but I know that where we are now, it's anticipated that those needs are going to increase by 50% by 2050. For those playing along from home, Corey, my retirement date is December 1st, 2045. First of the month after my 72nd birthday, so it will not be my problem in 2050, but I'm still worried about it. Low-income renters face a huge lack of safe, affordable housing. Who's paid attention to around the Christmas holiday with the closing of the Latitude 525 apartment complex? Remember that in the news? Yeah. That has been an issue for me I've been here in the Columbus area for what? Since 2014. And I learned that one right away. But our clients, not just here, all around the country, cannot find safe, accessible, affordable housing. It is an absolute legitimate crisis in the United States. 34 million people are food insecure in the United States. That means that when a disaster hits in a community where there's intense food insecurity, their ability to be resilient and recover is severely limited. So we're having to change the way we think about what does it mean to be facilitative leaders as a national organization to support communities to address things like food insecurity. Because if they don't have access to food, access to health care, then their ability to recover is severely limited. So we try to focus our energies on vulnerable folks. So if my choices are Central City, Columbus, and Worthington, and I have a very small amount of stuff, I'm sorry about your luck, but I'm sending resources to Central City, Columbus first. Food insecure, housing insecure, lack of educational resources, all of those things mean that they will struggle more than we will in Worthington to recover from something. And we're able to use data to show us what that looks like. So last year, as 21,000 volunteers did this kind of work, dropped into an area like this. I love going to the AAA down here. I didn't know I was going to Hurricane Ian. I kept a bag in my car because I'm on call to have a rapid deployment every quarter. I go to the AAA here in town, and the kids are laughing at me like, "You can get all those things on your cell phone." I need the maps. I want every map of every community in Florida that you have, and the kids think I'm nuts. Get down to Florida, guess what wasn't working? Cell phones. Didn't matter. You're out of luck. They drop in a place like that and the volunteers just know how to go. They're an amazing group of people. So we had Hurricane Ian, we also had Hurricane Nicole, by the by. No one paid attention much to Nicole, but that was the first storm since Katrina. It hit the east coast of Florida. That was interesting. And Hurricane Ian, also special. Everybody thought it was going to be a Tampa problem. What happened? They got the hell out of Tampa. And then Ian says, "Hold my beer." And then turned around like a corkscrew. And the folks that got out of Tampa got to places that what happened? That's where Ian went. Sorry about your luck. So an amazing response there. And we're going to be on the ground in Florida for that particular response for years. For years. We are on the ground in communities like Mayfield, Kentucky still, years later. And here's a term that never existed when I was starting the Red Cross. Who's heard of an atmospheric river? All you need to know is that it's really bad news if you're in it. Like, it's the weather. It won't stop and it won't stop and it won't stop. And you are out of luck because there's no end of it in sight for months. And all of that causes folks to be displaced. So we're doing things to try to address this on the front end. There's a great book called Upstream. And more or less what it's saying is, rather than finding out why people are in the river, wouldn't it be great if we went upstream and kept them from falling in the first place? So some of the things we're trying to do is to adapt our programs by working very intentionally and very intensely and helping to resource grassroots, community-based organizations in selected parts of the United States, typically after there's been a fairly recent response, and figure out how can we work with this food pantry in this county in Western Kentucky. And if what they need is $10,000 so that they can get a new reliable freezer and refrigerator system so they can collect things in and hold it, build the resource out again, as opposed to using 4 or 5 regular go to your kitchen kind of refrigerators, that's a great investment because we just help those folks not be as food insecure. We're making changes like that. We're changing the way we provide assistance. It's very client-centric, and we are raising the amounts of assistance that we do issue for disasters and building in more flexibility where there's a standard program. But if someone says, "Hey, Ken, but the need is this," I'm empowered to make a different financial decision above and beyond the standard program. Getting more folks to engage in the work is incredibly important, and making sure that we are constantly assessing and improving our sheltering and our casework systems so that you tell me your story and we got it. You don't need to tell your story to 3 different people because it's exhausting to tell your story, right? It's frustrating. And there's some repeated trauma every time you need to tell your story. So how do we integrate things and use technology so that you tell the story one time and we're good to go? We can help you from there. So we do all kinds of things. We prepare. That's the upstream part of the work. We offer presentations to kids from kindergarten through the 5th grade. We offer presentations to folks. My wife's mother, bless her heart, lives what my wife calls the frat house. It's the 55+ apartments. And she lives in the frat house and she spends her time wheeling and dealing with bingo. She loves bingo. And that's her side hustle. She's not poor. She's making money on bingo left and right. So we go to independent living places like that because the needs of older adults are different than the needs of folks that are my kids' age, which are different than the needs of people with families. And we make sure that they have the education and awareness for resources to be prepared, to be more resilient, so that when something does happen, it is not that big a deal. And it's incredibly important with kids, because who's got little kids, grandkids, or who have raised little kids that go to school? Corey's got kids. I think your daughter's school age now, or just about to be. Like, here's your world, man. Mrs. Smith is going to give her a piece of paper, and if you don't sign the piece of paper, she doesn't get the cookie, and you're going to be harassed until you sign the piece of paper like a good father. So there's your pro tip, right? What does that do? When they have to sign off on what the kids heard about, read about, learned about, practiced at school, then guess what? Mom or dad, grandparents who's taking care of that child, they just got information. Wow, what a deal. Response, just what you think it is, and recovery, the casework, the mental health, the spiritual care support, the health services support that you've come to expect and understand. Last fiscal year, which is July 1 through June 30, so we're just about to end things up for this current year, 149,000 overnight stays, 2 million snacks. That doesn't include anything in Hurricane Ian, by the by, which was a monster all on its own. 2.5 million relief items distributed, 40,000 homes provided relief support. That's what we've done in the National Red Cross through March, January to March. 81 different large disasters. That's just January to March. That other slide about billion-dollar disasters, a response every 10 days, it's a real thing. We can use technology and data to help us understand where need needs to go and who's in that community. We can look at social vulnerability indicators to find out those at the greatest risk, those least likely to be resilient, and if resources are scarce or limited, direct it and target it there. And then we can provide assistance electronically, we can provide assistance remotely, and that money goes from us to their bank account like that. And that preserves their dignity, because they're not going to walk necessarily with a credit card that says American Red Cross on it. When they go to the Walmart they always go to and see one of their neighbors who's the cashier. So it's a client-powered, client-centric, dignity-preserving way for us to make assistance happen. And our volunteers walk them through that process. So if my staff were here, they'd roll their eyes. I'm going to tell you the story. There's a guy that falls in the hole. Priest walks by. Hey, Father, can you help me out of the hole? He says a prayer and he keeps on walking. Doctor walks by, like my wife, gets out a prescription pad. She still has one of those. You don't know what the hell she wrote on it because her handwriting is, she's a doctor, drops it in the hole. The doctor keeps on walking. Third guy walks by, jumps in the hole. Corey, what the hell are you doing in the hole? Now we're both stuck down here. Corey's like, I have been in the hole. I know the way out. The Red Cross caseworkers know the way out. We help them build a recovery plan. They initiate it. It matters to them. It meets their needs that they express. And then we'll help them resource through referrals, through partnerships, and if needs be, through financial assistance. Here's a shocker for folks.
Can you stay near the mic a little more, please?
I can, I tried. Thank you. Here's a shocker for folks. What people want in a disaster isn't money. That is not the number one thing people want. They want information and they want support. Now, if they need financial resources, we can help with that. But that's not what they're driving. Here's something about home fires. Every day, we're responding to fires around the country. Every single day. Every single day here in Columbus, we're responding to fires. And volunteers meet them on the scene, day or night, wherever they need to be, to make sure that they have access to resources for food and for clothes and for shelter. You should all raise your hands on this one. So just all raise your hand. Who's got homeowners insurance or renters insurance? Good. And if you were fibbing, fix that. Doesn't much matter if the dude from State Farm is not here handing out cash. That's not helpful. So we'll make sure whether you have insurance or not, whether you have resources or not, because the most important thing isn't money, it's support. So no one should watch their house burn down by themselves. Fire department's got a life safety mission to focus on, putting wet stuff on hot stuff, and they need to focus on that. We'll make sure that you're not watching your house burn down. Because no one, I don't care where you live, New Albany or 4th Street in Columbus, should watch that happen on their own. So we've increased our assistance. We're going to be increasing it again. 60,000 people in the past 3 months with almost 23,000 home fires. That's across the country. Where you see here, that's what we've done in the United States since July 1, this through March. How do we help with that? Smoke alarms help a lot. $10 piece of plastic, that's not the most important thing, but we'll give them to you for free. Every level of your home, every sleeping area, it doesn't matter. And if you've got a whoop-de-doo new home and they're wired in and they're more than 10 years old, guess what? They don't work. They make sound, they don't work. So those need to get serviced, by the way. Or you call us and we'll come in, put in a 10-year alarm. Volunteers do that all the time. Across the country, we've done 2.5 million. The escape plans are what matter. Who's got grandkids? They're visiting your house. Do they know what to do if they're at an overnight? Do they know where to meet? Have you had that talk with them? Because you know what happens with kids? You know where they hide? Under the bed or in a closet. If they don't know any different, that's what they're going to do. That home safety plan, that fire escape plan that you can have and have it on your fridge, or if you've got kids at home now, that you have it on your fridge. That saves lives. In the region, through the end of May, we've installed about 6,500 smoke alarms. And that's 51 lives saved since 2014. We did one particular installation here in Columbus. I think it was 2016, 9 people saved from 2 smoke alarms. They all knew what to do. They all got out. They're all getting to go see Christmas, have birthdays. We've had 1,500 local disasters in our 47 counties in the last 11 months. Every one of those required 2 or 3 volunteers to go out there. And every one of those is that's one disaster, one event. You might have 8 cases, 30 cases in one of those events. If it's an apartment complex, if it's a tornado outbreak like we had down in Southern Ohio and Goshen last July, many cases on that one event. 5,600 folks received financial assistance, and then 5,200 and change kids got themselves prepared. Of the 51 lives we've saved since 2014, 23 of those are kids. That's the app I told you about. We do stuff around the world, though. Internationally, you can see we respond to major emergencies with our international partners. We provide capacity building support. We'll provide embeds to help with psychosocial services. We'll respond to needs. And here's the other thing that I think folks don't often catch. We get as good as we give. So when there's a big response, International Red Cross, Red Crescent societies come and help us out. If we need brain power in a particular problem, and there's an IT volunteer at the Magen David Dome, the National Society for Israel, they come here. So it's reciprocal. It's not just, oh, the United States is going to send out all the help. That is not how this works. We get as good as we give. And you can see some of the impact that we've had in the movement this year. If you're a blood donor, thank you. Thank you. There is no replacement for that. This is one of the largest manufacturing centers in the United States, is here in Columbus. The people there are doing the angels work 24 hours a day, every day. There are folks on East Broad Street making sure that they can make the therapeutics and the products that people need in hospitals all around the United States. If they don't go to work, if the snowstorm is bad and they can't get in, I'm here to tell you right now that there are going to be kids that don't get their sickle cell therapeutics at Nation. Amazing work that they do. So if you help support that as a blood donor by hosting a blood drive, thank you. And you can see what we look like in the blood services program through the end of March. Who served in the armed forces or has family that's there now? Thank you. Thank you. So if you're overseas, if you're deployed even in Comas, and something happens, the Red Cross is going to verify conditions that may provide an opportunity for you or for your loved one to come home when the family's having a really bad time. Really bad time can mean a whole lot of things. Doesn't mean that someone has died. It could mean someone is suddenly very sick, a traumatic accident, a traumatic event where suddenly that child needs mom or dad. And we can work to verify what that is and then help resource you to get home. You need help getting from where you land to where home is, we can help you with that. If you need to process an extension for leave request with your command, we can help you with that. If you're a military retiree and you have a hard time, we can work with you to make an application to one of the military relief societies to meet that need. And the Red Cross caseworkers will do that for you. That's an incredibly important foundational part of our work. We also now are having folks from here rotate overseas a lot more actively than they had. And that is in large part due to the conflict in Ukraine. And so Red Crosses are going to areas around Ukraine where we're having more service members be present to try to provide help and support. And that's what we've done so far through the end of March this year. That's a lot of stuff. It only happens because volunteers roll up their sleeves and say, yes, send me. And it only happens because the American public says, I trust you. We're blessed to be the most trusted nonprofit this side of the church. When you look at the different branding studies, I didn't know these were a thing, but it's amazing what they survey. But when you look at that, it's a trusted agency with a national reach, and we're blessed by the financial support of the American public, because that funding that does this work does not come from the government. The biggest freebie we get from the government are free license plates. That's it. The rest comes from folks like you to support folks like you who say, yes, send me. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. I'm happy to take any questions you've got. Sure.
Ken, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. Quick note, the question, when I first came to Columbus 35 years ago, my first service was being a disaster volunteer for Red Cross.
Cool, thank you. Thank you.
A question.
Yeah.
You put up, I tried, when I was moving, I was trying to see in your international service slide.
Yeah.
Number 6 is in Central-ish Asia. Can you tell me where that is specifically?
It's a fire in Nepal.
Nepal.
Dolaka fire.
Thank you. We have a sister club not so far from Nepal, in Mongolia. Thank you.
You bet. Yes, ma'am.
What have clubs done, Rotary clubs done to collaborate with you? What are some examples?
Well, a big one is supporting our home fire campaign. So the way one of those events works is you pick a neighborhood. We do that with partners, but you can also look at the vulnerability based on data from fire responses and based on where we've responded and based on age of the housing stock. And Rotarians will work together. I think this was a project of past district governor Gary. He had a lot of clubs working on this in this district. I think that was about 5 years ago that he was district governor, maybe 4. Super nice guy. I love that he's in what he calls the Youngers Club of the Short North. I just think that's a good. But in any event, we work with Rotary clubs where they'll provide the people and the manpower, and we do 2 different ways to do that. One is you want to knock on the doors and you want to put a door hanger out so that folks know that we're coming. So we call that a canvassing event. You do that maybe 4 or 5 days ahead of when you're going to be in a neighborhood. And then we have folks that will partner with Red Cross volunteers to actually do the installation and the education presentations. I can do this, so I can guarantee you it's not rocket science. My wife is the sciencey one I mentioned. That wasn't that guy. So a little bit of training and you can be an installer, or you can be one of the folks doing the education to tell folks what are the steps you need to remember, what are the things you need to do to get yourself out of that house safely. And so we do a lot of that with Rotary clubs. Other Rotary clubs sponsor blood drives. I know up in District 6600 up north, they used to have competitions where they would try to get per capita so that the little Rotary club has a chance versus Toledo Rotary, which has 500 people. And sponsoring blood drives and encouraging folks to give. And also when there are opportunities for us to be present in communities where we can host events to try to recruit diverse donors, that's incredibly important. Because the diversity of the donor pool is incredibly important. Typically, it's 4% of the population that can give, does give. And so that's a small number. And it's even harder to get diverse donors in the blood supply. So some folks will help us organize events like that. Corey, am I missing anything on that one?
The only thing I would add would be, so I was the executive director in Dayton during the Memorial Day tornadoes, and I was also Rotarian with the Dayton Rotary. And, being able to share the information about what we were doing, the need beyond what the Red Cross was doing, the entire community need, the Rotary really did step up. Not only the Dayton Rotary, but Rotaries within the district, ended up making a pretty large donation to the recovery efforts, both to the American Red Cross and to the Long-Term Recovery Committee. So that was also remaining aware of what the needs are when that next one occurs. So it was very helpful.
Sure,
How do you coordinate with FEMA?
that's always interesting. So I'm gonna say this. I have never had a bad experience with FEMA. The way we primarily coordinate with FEMA, so when Steve introduced me, he talked about my being the principal representative to the Commonwealth of Kentucky for the Mayfield tornadoes. My job there was to be the counterpart to what's called the Federal Coordinating Office. And so on a major disaster operation, FEMA administrator or the deputy administrator appoints a person, a federal coordinating officer, and that one monitors, organizes, and maintains the collaboration among all the FEMA activities on that response. And that's and they have some power of direction, but it's mostly a coordinating activity. The Red Cross has the same system. We use the same variation of the incident command system that your fire department does. And the Red Cross coordinating officer and the FEMA coordinating officer make sure that our activities are aligned. And a lot of that time is spent paying attention to how do we understand housing stock. Because you can have all the resources in the world, but if they don't have a place to go, it doesn't matter a lot. The Red Cross is able to provide assistance several weeks faster than FEMA as a rule. And oftentimes more assistance per person than FEMA can. Lots of different variations on that. It's not an intention thing. That's just, it's a lot for them to navigate because good news, bad news. There's so many different programs. I'm always learning about different programs. USDA has housing programs. That's the Department of Agriculture. Who'd have thought? Had no idea, right? So that's where we primarily connect. We also do a lot around large event planning ahead of time. So if we know that that storm's going to be screaming across, we're already starting to tee up a response 196 hours ahead of time. Used to be 120 hours back in the day. Now they're so unpredictable and they're so much larger. We have to have more time ahead to do that. So as we're doing that, FEMA's doing the same thing.
Again, thank you very much for speaking to us. We are running a little behind, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, we got a raffle, right? How much is in there, Bone? For the weekly? Wow.
You're not making money, then.
That's right.
The last four digits are 9886.
9886. Bonnie, what did I tell you? I said, don't let Jim Miller win.
Glad you didn't say Jeremy.
I guess so. I'm still the president. You still have to listen.
269.
269 in Melissa's face.
It's not a very good list.
Pick one up for you. Last time I did this, I picked 9.
Oh.
881.
881. Mr. Miller. Steve, if you'll come on up, pick a card from our drawing here. You're looking for the ace of spades.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
What's the deal here?
You just gotta pick a card. If it's the ace of spades, you win $289. It is the 9 of spades.
Good draw.
All right, folks, if you would join me in the recitation of the four-way test. The things we think, say, and do first.
Is it true?
Second,
Is it fair to all?
Concern,
third,
Will
build goodwill and better friendships,
and fourth.
beneficial to all concerned.
Thank you, everybody. Please remember to turn your cell phones back on and return your badges to the box. We are adjourned.
Well,